All set.
Okay,
So, oh, I can
who's
start. Sorry.
Hello.
Hi. Hello, Auburn Audit Committee. It is March 17th, and we're here to review the 2020 audit. We have Elaine Buffington. I think you are both familiar with Elaine, and she has the draft audit that she'll go over with you today.
Great.
Hey, great. Okay. First thing I'd like to say is, thank you to Taylor and Tracy for getting us all the information and keeping things very organized. As we asked for information, they provided it. Doing these remote audits is a little bit trickier than in person. We're often seeing lots of delays between when we ask for something and get things. But they were really great to get us the information timely so that we could keep things moving, and actually had this done in like record time. So very happy. The audit went smooth. There was really one finding, unfortunately. There was a pilot payment that was received at the last week in December that was not recorded or deposited until the first week in January. So we had to do a sizable journal entry to record that deposit in the proper year. So there was a cutoff issue, and that was about $95,000. We talked about it. Tracy and I talked about it. It is reported as a finding because of the amount. And we think it was just an isolated incident. We didn't see anything else really with issues with cutoffs. And we talked about just having some additional training and really watching the year-end cutoffs or any monthly cutoff to make sure that items are recorded in the proper periods. The other item that I wanted to talk about for this year's financial statement is there's a GASB 91, which is accounting for conduit debt. It's a new GASB that was issued a few years ago. It actually has been delayed one more year. It was supposed to be implemented this year, but with COVID, they extended it one more year. But the public authorities, when they reviewed the audit last year, they had asked about whether that was going to be implemented. And Tracy and I went back and forth with them and stated that it didn't need to be implemented at that time. So that we wouldn't have any issues this year, we did early implement that. And so what happened on the financial statement is the debt that you have with Bluefield Manor, retroactively, the debt and the receivable or lease receivable both came off and are not recorded on your financial statements. So as we go through that, any questions on that?
Not at this time, no.
No? Roger?
I had a question. Is it off QuickBooks as well?
Yes. Oh, is it?
Because it usually shows up on our monthly statements.
Yeah,
did you take that off QuickBooks?
No, we didn't take it off QuickBooks.
It's not a big deal if you want to keep it, but it's always something that appears every month, and so either way, but it'll be removed from the statements for.
Right. I would recommend you take it off of your QuickBooks as well. Just do a reversing entry, Tracy. If you need some help with us for us to give you that journal entry, we're happy to do that, because you really don't need to keep track of it anymore. This GASB, there was a lot of inconsistency in the way organizations such as yours was reporting this type of debt. Some entities had it on there as conduit debt, as an asset and a liability, and there's others that didn't. So they really felt strongly about issuing this so that everybody's doing it one way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So Taylor, we'll just have to put in our notes for year-end reporting to make sure we're still getting that moving forward. So we're not. We need to do it in Paris.
Oh, okay.
So we still need the number.
Okay.
So we'll just have to make a note that we still need to do that with our annual monitoring.
Okay.
And even more importantly, it just came across my cell phone that the filing deadline for personals got extended to May 15th.
Yeah, I was watching that. I don't know. I think it's going to go until June 15th. They're saying they're saying May right now, but that's
Okay.
that's not going to help the situation. All the 990s are due May 15th. It's just gonna there's just not enough time, unfortunately. You've got to be happy, Roger.
It works for me. I mean, just,
Okay, back to the financial statement. So, as far as the independent auditor's report, it is an unqualified opinion. The financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Pages 3 through 6, 3 through 5 is the management discussion and analysis that's not audited. When you have a moment, certainly look through it and read the new things, the different things that happened during the year. Starting on page 6 is the statement of net position. And this is where in 2019, we did retroactively restate and took off the bond and the lease payable. So these numbers reflect a true comparison for 2019 and 2020. So as we're looking at
excuse me, just on page 5, it mentions that the bond payable to Bluefield Manor is whatever it is at 2020. Do they suggest you keep it in the MD&A even though it's off the balance sheet? I'm just curious. I'm not that familiar with 91.
I have not seen I haven't seen that you would not leave it in there. But
okay.
It's certainly you could certainly take it out. I really absolutely didn't think of that.
Yeah, me neither.
So I would, you got enough to do. It doesn't bother me being in there. So it's a nice reminder, but
it is, and especially since you have to have it in the Paris report.
Yeah.
It is something that you have to continue to track. In the statement of net position, you'll notice there's a significant decrease in your cash and cash equivalents. And almost all of that is made up of timing between when the pilot payments came in and when the pilot payments were made. You'll see down below under the current liabilities that you have a sizable pilot payments payable that really depleted the cash shortly after the first of the year. The other thing you'll notice is the pilot payment receivable is down significantly. So you guys did a really great job in collecting those amounts prior to year end and getting those recorded. And if you look at the total assets, your total assets actually dropped from 1,135,000 to 1,098,000. And really this all has to do with the timing of those payments. Actually, we've talked in the past about being a little bit concerned that you were getting down in your cash reserves. And this year, you actually, it was a great year, so you were able to boost those reserves. And you're up to about 160,000 when I look at the difference between your total current assets and your total current liabilities. So it was a good year, definitely, for Ada. Questions on page 6? Page 7, the statement of revenue and expenses. You'll see here that you've really had an increase in your administrative fee income. Three active pilots or 3 pilots during the year. You were very active, and with COVID, I really wasn't sure what we'd see from some organizations, and I get surprised all the time. It certainly is not stopping organizations from doing things, and I thought it might be affecting organizations like you more, that organizations would not have the funds or would be trying to cut back, but I don't see that happening, which is a good thing for our community. under your operating expenses, a couple new things is, the marketing, the new branding. We did capitalize a portion of that as the website over on the balance sheet. And there was an increase in your contract services for the CETA sharing, which if there's more, if it's a good thing. If there's more contracts, more revenue, it is adding to everybody's bottom line. So if we look at the change in that position for the end of the year, you'll see that you had a positive $90,349. So a great infusion of cash. Questions?
The website is in the equipment line then? That's where the change is, so I guess I assume
Yes.
that's where it is. Thank you.
Page 9, the statement of cash flows. During the year, you had an increase of $660,000 in your cash and cash equivalents. And as we talked about before, the primary reason of that is the timing of the pilots, bringing your cash balance to $759,000. Page 10, starting the footnotes. I'm not going to go through these. I'm really going to ask to see if you have any questions in your review. When you looked at the financial statement, there's really no big changes from the previous year. The footnotes are pretty standard. The one item that you will notice is on page 14, and that's the footnote of new accounting pronouncements for what we talked about for GASB 91. Page 15 is the auditor's report over internal control. If you look on the very last paragraph, this is where we identify the finding that we had in regards to the cutoff and the receipt of that pilot payment and being recorded in the subsequent year. And on page 17, you'll see the actual report of the finding. The very last paragraph there is the authority's response. Questions or comments on it? In our testing, we didn't find any other instances where there were any issues of things being recorded in improper periods or any other cutoff issues. We also tested a sample of expenses, looking for the same item for cutoffs and proper recording. No, there were no findings.
All right.
On page 18 is the report for compliance in accordance with the Public Authorities Law. And nothing came to our attention that there were any issues that you failed to comply with the laws. Questions from the audit committee? Concerns?
No.
Yeah, I guess 10 words or less. We got the cash in, Tracy, we got the cash in December and just didn't record it. Is that what
when it was entered, it was just entered on the date that it was deposited. the date in the entry just wasn't changed. It was received in the holiday period, so in between
We didn't
Christmas
take
and
it
New
to,
Year's.
you didn't take it to Turning Stone or anything like that, then?
No, no, I did not.
So,
No, we saw the funds deposited.
so they were deposited in December, and we
They were
didn't report it
deposited
to
in
them.
January.
Deposited in January.
So that's probably not the right terminology, that we were sitting on it how long was it? It may be in there. How long was the delay?
Week, I
Week
think.
and a half, maybe about a week and a half. I think it was received. It was received December 23rd and deposited on the 5th.
Okay. Well, I understand. So.
I don't, as I said in our, in the comments, this was an isolated incident. Happens. I think with all that everybody's dealing with, the holidays, it wasn't an oversight. It wasn't done intentionally. Other questions or concerns?
The attachment after page 18, is that something we typically have seen?
Yes.
It's a nice looking report, but.
Oh,
Thank you.
So the accomplishments report and the measurement report is another document that we do every year.
Oh, so this is not something that I did. Okay, this is another report.
You
Darn.
can still take credit for it. But no,
Well,
yeah.
Irrespective, I'm just
Hey,
looking.
Mike. We're just finishing up our audit committee meeting.
Oh, am I early? I'm sorry.
No, you're that's okay. You can hang out. It's a public meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Audit committee. Doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
You haven't met this audit committee.
Okay.
I've looked at the reports, in retrospect every now and then, and I just don't recall this being. Was that in there before? Tracy,
I don't remember seeing it last year.
It's okay. I'm just saying, it's
It might have been in the full board packet. I don't know if we had it in the audit packet last year.
and plus the fact that as far as Elaine goes, your report is going to finish it at page 18, I assume, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
You're not taking responsibility for any of this stuff.
No, I tried to take credit that it looked like a nice report.
No. But yeah, so these reports just go through, there's some key factors that are required by ABO in these reports on property owned, like what projects we've been working on, investments, and then the measurement report is speaking back to the goals that are in the mission statement, which we'll have another conversation about as part of the meeting tonight. But that just reports back to the state, how are we doing on these goals that we've set for the organization. And then following that, we've got Paris reporting. This is just what we put into Paris that we want you to look at. There's still some outstanding project information that we're still collecting, but the majority of it is in there.
And Paris is going to insist that the bond information is going to continue to be reported, even though it's not required by GASB.
Correct. They still want to know about the conduit debt related to the authority.
They just don't want to see it as an asset and a liability on the financial statement. That's what was really odd about last year's conversation back and forth with the state. They don't want to see it there. They don't want to see it on the statement, but they did want to see it in your Paris report.
Fine. Right. Aye, sir.
We can't argue with the state.
Maybe with new leadership in the state, things will be different, right?
Has that ever happened before?
What's that?
A difference. Different leadership difference.
Oh, geez, I don't know. I mean, that's a discussion for another day.
Yes.
I would say, just as in passing I really give the firm a lot of credit going. It's been a pretty tough time, obviously, and I just wanted to recognize that. And my sister used to serve Alice and her husband out at Alaska's, and she tells me
Yes.
every week.
Yep.
So she got a chance to, just one of those things where she stopped over and said hello to them 2 days before it happened.
Yes.
So I wish you well in getting through a tough time.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We certainly have had our hits this year. But we'll get through it. Alice is doing quite well though. She's a strong woman, so but her and Bob had a wonderful marriage and relationship.
I don't even want to think about it. So.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So to wrap up the audit committee.
Yep. So unless there's any other questions about the report, the audit, the two reports, or the Paris reporting, all we'll need to do is make a recommendation to the full board for the meeting tonight. This all gets posted to Paris at the end of the month. So we put a bunch of these documents on the website, and we submit the Paris reporting towards the end of the month.
Very good.
So we're good making the recommendation to the board to approve the documents as submitted.
Yes.
What do you think, Brad? I'm fine. So.
I'm fine with it. Yes.
Great. Okay, I think that's all we had for you today. Is that right, Taylor?
Okay, you want me back at 5 though?
Yep, I do want you back at 5.
Okay, it will be it'll be an abbreviated version of this, so that you can move on with all your other business.
Oh, there's plenty of it. It's a big agenda today. Poor Katie,
Okay.
it's her first meeting, and I'm like, it's going to be a doozy for you, Katie. So we'll see you again at 5.
I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
And is there a motion to adjourn the audit committee meeting?
So
Motion to
moved.
adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. I'm going to take that as an all in favor. And now we are adjourned, and we will move on to the public hearing in 5 minutes.
Fantastic.
I will call the public hearing for Courier Plastic to order. Tracy, you want to take over, please?
I would love to. So I am going to read the purpose of this meeting, or the description of the project I will be reading. This is the legal stuff, so bear with me. Courier Plastics Inc. and Gen West Associates LLC, the company, has requested the authority's assistance with a certain project. The project consisting of the acquisition of approximately 25.19 acres of land located at 101 Columbus Street in the city of Auburn, County of Cayuga, New York. The land improved with an existing 128,672 square foot building, Building 1. The renovations to Building 1, construction on the land of a 90,000 square foot manufacturing and warehousing building, Building 2, and together with Building 1, the buildings, and equipping the buildings with machinery, equipment, and other tangible personal property for use as an injection and blow plastic molding facility and related functions, the equipment, and together with the land and buildings, the facility. The authority will acquire title to or leasehold interest in the facility and lease the facility back to the company. The company will operate the facility during the term of the lease. At the end of the lease term, the leasehold interest will be terminated. The authority contemplates that it will provide financial assistance to the company in the form of a sales and use tax exemptions, real property tax abatement, and exemption of mortgage tax. The foregoing financial assistance and the authority's involvement in the project are being considered to promote the economic welfare and prosperity of the residents of the city of Auburn. And let me just pull up the CBA real quick, drop the numbers in here. Sorry. Here it is. Based upon the information provided by the company in its application, the project will involve an approximately $17 million capital investment by the company with significant job creation potential. The authority estimates the following amounts of financial assistance will be provided to the company. Sales and use tax exemption of $659,200, real property tax abatement of $1,825,878.09. It's very specific. And mortgage tax exemptions of $101,250 for a total of $2,586,328.09.
Well done.
Thank you.
A lot of reading.
These things. So at this point, we can open the floor to comment. And if there are no comments from the public, we can take comments from the board and or Courier. Is there any questions? Love these public hearings.
Yeah.
Come on, Jimmy. You got to have something.
I asked all my questions last month. That's why the way these things are laid out, and this happens at council all the time, they're so awkward because there's always a first reading or a presentation, and then you vote the following week or the following month, and everybody's like, they didn't even talk about it when they voted. But, and I plan on stating before we vote on it that representatives from Courier were present last month, and that as far as I'm concerned, all my questions were answered adequately.
Okay. So I think typically what we do is we just leave the public hearing open for another 10 minutes or so, just to make sure nobody hops on. We did not receive any written comments related to the project. So we'll just hang out for a few minutes, and then if we don't hear anything in the next 10 minutes or so, we will close the public hearing. So, but we'll leave it live. Still streaming, so feel free to talk amongst yourselves, but no, it's not private.
I guess I would just follow up on the discussion we had a moment ago with the purchase of the old PNC building. That doesn't affect your plans at all then? Is that a fair statement?
No, actually, this was all put together as a separate package before we even found out that the property at the PNC building was available. So it was a completely separate deal, which quite honestly is why, we were a little hesitant to jump on it any faster than we did, because this was the real, prize we were trying to accomplish. And once we make a commitment of this magnitude, that's a lot for Courier, given the size of the company and what we're trying to do. So just trying to be somewhat fiscally prudent.
I see. Okay.
And I do see that Katie is here listening in. So maybe just prior to the regular meeting, this is a good time. Courier folks, Katie is the new member of our board. And so she is seeing your project more or less for the first time tonight. We did a quick overview, but maybe it would be good to give her an overview of what you're doing from your perspective, and that's how we can fill a few minutes here.
I'd be glad to. Katie, can you hear me okay?
I can. And
Okay.
hi there.
Hi. The project in its entirety basically is comprised of constructing a 90,000 square foot building on the back of our existing plant in Auburn on Columbus Street. And that also includes approximately $6 million worth of equipment, which is not to fill the building, but to start putting the equipment in for it to be a full manufacturing facility for healthcare. And the idea is that when the building is constructed, it includes a 20,000 foot clean room on one end of it. And then there's the regular manufacturing floor in the middle, which would be broken out between injection molding and blow molding, two different processes. And then to the other end would actually start by being a warehouse that would be back on site, so that we don't have as much of a cost for offsite warehouse that we currently have in Auburn today. And then as the company grows, we would basically either go back to the outside warehouse and use the rest of the building for manufacturing, because that's what it's designed for, or we would be able to do something on the property that is part of this acquisition, and it is on the east side of the plaza property towards Columbus, on the corner of Columbus and Genesee. We have some acreage there that would be available for us. So we have some options in terms of the speed that we grow, but we have no doubt that we're going to grow. It's just a question of how fast and can we accommodate. So that's what the project basically is comprised of. So it's a construction of a building for roughly $10.5 million and about $6 million of the equipment, and then some like $375 for the purchase of land, and then soft costs. That's what comprises the budget of the $17 million.
Thanks for the overview. I am familiar with the building and the location. I've been in your building with some of the young professionals groups years ago.
Okay.
So that's exciting to see it grow. Actually, when I located to Auburn, I worked across the street at the Shophouse Tech facility. That's how I came to be in Auburn.
I see. Okay. Well, then you're very familiar and know everything I just talked about.
Thanks for the overview, Mike.
Oh, you're welcome.
It was still a very pleasant way to spend a few minutes. I see that Rick is here. Rick Cook.
I'm here, yeah.
Hi. How long do you think is appropriate to hang out?
Oh, so we're at 4:40. Yeah, give it 2 more minutes and
Okay.
Yeah. Mike, when do you plan on closing on the mortgage loan?
Well, as it's structured right now, we're using a new markets tax credit program, and we're going through JP Morgan Chase, and they're waiting for certain performance points to be met. And what we're shooting for is to have those met by June. So that's kind of, we're looking at that as a trigger date right now. So the worst that would happen is that we can't do it for June and we have to put it off to the fall. The problem is that we currently have CDEs that have given us the allocations that we need for the financing, but I don't know how long they will just kind of wait until we can be positioned to close. So it's possible that we would lose those current allocations and have to reapply to get new allocations, hopefully from the new round that everybody applied for. And from my perspective, we worked very closely with ESD before, and our hope would be that their CDE division of ESD would get allocations that they could then pass out. So it wouldn't be so bad. It's easy to work with, and it's nice because we have an ESD grant that they would then be able to roll into the project, and working with the same entity just makes it easier.
Okay. So do you want to close on the leaseback transaction in advance of the new markets closing?
If we can, as long as it doesn't cause a problem for Ada, that would be a preference. So,
yeah, I mean, because that's what you need to get your sales tax exemption.
right.
I don't know when you start construction.
Well, again, the plan, which is always the plan, is sometime in June. So that's
right.
where
So if we close the leaseback transaction in April or something, does that work for you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Good enough. So yeah, Tracy, I think we're okay. We can log off and then just come back to the meeting at 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah, I think we should probably wait. There's a couple of board members I think we're expecting for the regular meeting. So is that right, Taylor? So we'll close the public hearing and come back at 5. You can stay right on this link. But we'll wait until 5 to get started.
Okay.
Hey, thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
So I hereby call the meeting of the Auburn Industrial Development Authority for Wednesday, March 17th, 5 o'clock to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Daisy? Mr. Andre?
Present.
Mr. Beer?
Here?
Mr. Giannatino?
Here.
Mr. Gasper?
Here.
Mr. Gravius?
Here.
Mr. Cuddy?
Here.
Ms. Weber McLeod?
Here.
Ms. McIntyre?
She's here. She just was
She's
muted.
here.
Okay, thank you, Taylor. We'll
You're
move minutes for review and approval. Could we start with February 15th Governance Committee meetings, please? Any questions about it? I'm sure everyone's read it. Any questions about it? If not, can I have a motion, please?
I'll motion.
Moved by Terry. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Jimmy, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Carried. We'll now move to February 17th, our last meeting, regular meeting. Any questions on that? If not, can I have a motion, please?
Roger.
So moved.
Moved by Roger. Have a second?
Brandon.
Second by Brandon. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Carried. Thank you. Now, we're going to move new business B, the 2020 audit review that Elaine is going to give us up to this spot, because I'm sure she probably has already had a long day, so we'll try to shorten it for her. Elaine, the floor is yours.
And I hear that you have a full agenda too, so I will be mindful of your time. Just about an hour ago, I presented the financial statement to your audit committee. We had a discussion about a couple different items, and I do believe that the audit committee is going to recommend that the audit be approved. What I want to do today with you is just go through a few highlights of the financial statement and the audit, and let you know exactly what happened during our audit process. First of all, the audit went smooth. Again, I want to thank Tracy and Taylor for all their help during the process, getting us information and in a form that was very easy for us to go through and perform all of our procedures. The procedures went very well. We did have one finding, however, and we believe this was an isolated incident. It was right at year end, where a check for a pilot payment had come in, but was not deposited and recorded until 2021. So we did have an adjustment for that item, and there is a internal control finding that has to be reported in the statement. Other item that to note is there's a new accounting standard, GASB 91. It has been extended one more year, but we did early implement it this year so that we could, at the request of the state, they wanted to see this last year, but it really didn't even exist last year at the time of the financial statement. It wouldn't have taken place until this year. But then it got extended, but so that we were in compliance and so that they were able to meet their requirements, we did early implement the GASB 91. And what GASB 91 is, it's accounting for conduit debt, and that's the debt that you have with Bluefield Manor. So on your previous financial statements, that was recorded as an asset and as a liability because you were merely a pass-through for their mortgage. And what GASB 91 is, it does away with that type of accounting where that you don't recognize that asset and liability on your financial statement. So in this financial statement, we restated 2019 so that you're not seeing that debt, and it is comparative with 2020. As far as the independent auditor's report on page 1, it is an unqualified report. The financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Pages 3 through 5 is management discussion and analysis. This is provided by Tracy, and it's a summary of what the year had for your organization. Page 6, statement of financial position. What I wanted to just talk about here briefly is you'll see that there's a significant amount in your cash and cash equivalents, 759,000 versus the previous year it was 99,000. This purely is a timing in when you're receiving the pilots and when you are actually making those payments out. So at the end of the year, you had collected a significant portion, actually almost all of the pilots for the year. You only had 13,000 outstanding that had not come in. But if you look down in your liabilities, you also had 584,000 that had to be paid out. So it's merely a timing issue of when you've collected the money and then when you paid it out. One of the other items that I just wanted to talk about briefly is there is an amount, you'll see a note payable to the city of Auburn for $23,100 that also has an interest amount that's due of $9,150. This has been on your books for quite a few years, and it is for the purchase of a parcel of property. And when you sell that property, you pay back the city both the principal and the interest. On page 7 is the statements of revenue and expenses. This year was a very good year for the authority. You had a lot of activity. You had 3 new pilots and other administrative fees. Your income increased from $53,000 to $179,000. So even in a year of challenges with COVID and really businesses not knowing what they're going to be doing next, you know, it's great that this agency was able to help a lot of different businesses and has remained very active. It's certainly a benefit to our community. If you look down through your expenses, you did have some sizable expenses with a new marketing and branding project that you have going on. So your total income, operating income for the year was $90,735. Some interest and non-operating expenses of $386, giving you a net change in position of $90,349. In the past, we've talked about there's been some years that have been pretty lean for the organization, and the amounts that you have for future projects was starting to diminish quickly. So this $90,000 is a great infusion for your organization to continue the great work that you're doing. Questions? Any questions? No? I don't see any hands raised or anything. Okay. As far as, as far as any other items in regards to our testing, the only issue that really did come to light was the one deposit and that is recorded as a finding. However, all of our other testing came out very good. We didn't have any problems or issues or other concerns. As I said, the one issue with the deposit was an isolated issue.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So unless there's any questions on the audit, the committee did recommend approving the audit as presented. And this is something that we submit to the state at the end of March. So we'll be uploading that to them towards the end of the month.
Okay, so we have to take action on it now, Tracy? We have to vote? Please. Okay, can I have a motion to accept the audit report? If there's no... Moved by Roger, I believe. Have a second, please.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Opposed? Abstained? Carried? Thank you. Thank you, Elaine. Well done.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. And have a great meeting.
We will. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Okay, we will now go back up to 3 bills and communications. Taylor, do you have that for us?
Yes, so we have a bill from TGW in the amount of $3,416. They also submitted another bill yesterday, so it's not in your packet, but we decided to bring it to the board. And that is for their phase 2 final payment, which is $8,500. And then we also have the citizens bill for the courier plastic notice that went out for $46.26.
Okay. Thank you. I will be in tomorrow to take care of those for you. Okay, we can now move to
Need a
report.
motion on the bills.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Can I have a motion to accept the bills as read?
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Jimmy. Have a second, please.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Can I ask you a question
Aye.
before we go? I'm going to ask a question. Just on the bill from TGW, I was going to point it out, if I'm not mistaken, that the $3,416 looks like it's going to be a monthly charge for the next additional 5 months. Is that accurate? So it's ongoing monthly work?
Yeah, I think that is accurate. I think that's part of the phase 3, right?
Okay. So what I'll do next month, I'll try and recap what the original projections were compared to where we're going to come in, all in when all the expenses are totaled.
Yeah, each month might not be the
Okay.
same amount. These first couple of months are going to be a little bit bigger because we're still tweaking the website and we're still doing some of that content generation. So the first couple of months will be a little bit higher than, when we get out to months 4 and 5, those will be a little bit less because it'll just be maintenance type work.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, carried. Thank you. We'll now go to unfinished business. A is seeker and authorization resolutions for courier plastic. Any questions on that?
So there are 2 resolutions here, which we'll do one at a time. One is the seeker authorization, which is based upon the city's negative declaration, but includes our own authorization of it. And then the second is the authorizing resolution, which would be authorizing the benefits we've been talking about.
Okay, so we'll do them separately.
Yes, please.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about the seeker? If not, can I have a motion, please?
A motion.
Terry?
Okay, can I have a second?
Second, Roger?
Roger?
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Carried? All right, now we will move to the authorizing resolution. Any questions on that?
Bill, I don't have any questions. I just, as I did last month with Mac Studios, I just like to state that last month Courier was here. They presented on this project. They answered all our questions adequately at that time. We had a public hearing prior to this meeting. There was no public input, nor did we receive any written comment.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Bill, do you want to do roll call?
Okay.
Vote? Yeah, usually I was to do a roll call vote. Yeah.
on seeker and authorization, or just authorization?
Usually do both, but that's all right. Just if you just do a roll call for this one.
Okay, so can we have a roll call vote for authorization, Tyler or Taylor? Cheapers. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Was there a motion in a second?
No, there wasn't.
I'm sorry. Okay, can we go back? Can I have a motion, please, for authorizing resolutions?
Jimmy?
So moved.
Moved by Jimmy. Can I have a second, please? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Okay, we need a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Dacey, Mr. Andre,
Aye.
Mr. Beer,
Aye.
Mr. Gianatino,
Aye.
Mr. Gasper,
Aye.
Mr. Gravius,
Aye.
Mr. Cuddy,
Aye.
Ms. Wilbur McLeod,
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre.
Katie?
Okay, passed. Thank you, everyone. Now we will go to the brand update. Tracy, I take it that's you?
That's me. So I'll just say, courier folks, you're free to go or welcome to stay. And we'll be reaching out with the legal stuff. You'll hear from Rick. But you're all set.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate everything as always. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
So we had a meeting with TGW this week, as we do every week. The website is live now. It is takerootinauburnn.com or .org. You can use either one. At this point, what they are doing is they are generating content, generating SEO, pushing from social, doing some kind of organic reach right now. And by the end of the week, they're going to have a kind of bulleted timeline and strategy list for us in terms of what the next steps are for the PR and launching this and getting it out broader into the community. But they're kind of building, like we talked about last month, building that more organic reach right now, so that when people outside of the community come in and they see our social media, they're not seeing a brand new page. They're seeing a page with content and something that feels a little more natural. So that's what they're doing over the next couple of weeks. And as soon as I get so the marketing plan that they had presented a couple of months ago did have an outline of the strategies they were going to use from an email, PR, an outreach perspective. They're going to summarize that into a more specific timeline now that we're here, and I'll send that to you as soon as I have it. But do take a look at the website. We are still making tweaks. We're still making edits, adding documents, all that stuff. So please do reach out if you see anything alarming or anything that needs some adjustment. They do say to us, like, break the site, let us know so we can fix it and everybody else has a good experience. So that's some of what we're doing now, is trying to break it, which is fun because who doesn't love breaking stuff? And so by the end of the week, you should see more of that strategy around what are the next steps once we get past this organic phase, which will be probably another 2 to 3 weeks. Listen to the podcast. There are some lovely additions from some of our board members as well as others in the community, and they did a very nice job with it. So do listen to those episodes. They're 20 to 25 minutes each and give some really great stories. And then, so I expect that we'll be kind of into full launch by this time next month, where we're doing full outreach, regional PR, press. We are going to include an ad, and so the tourism office or the Equal Rights Heritage Center is doing a travel guide piece that the Citizen is printing for visitors to take, and I think there might be some distribution of it. So we are going to put the brand into that ad, or create an ad for this brand in that piece to start targeting, to be on the front end of targeting visitors that might want to think about relocating here if they enjoyed themselves and loved the area. So that's going to kind of be that first thing, and that's just a timing. I don't think that is probably what anyone was expecting to do first, but it's just the nature of the timing. They don't know if there will be another run of this or not. So we wanted to get in there and do that. So we are going to include an ad in that publication with our partner, and to start getting the brand out to the visitor folks. Danny and Devin are working a lot on the site selector piece of it in particular, and what additional data we want to include there, what additional stories we want to include there. We've been attending a lot of sessions about site selectors and sharing that with some of our friends. So they're having a lot of conversations about how to make that more robust and more helpful to that audience. And we've got some really great, we're making some great progress, and hopefully we'll see that on the site in the coming weeks as well. So we're a little bit in a holding pattern right now, but do check out the site, do run through the pages, and send any additional feedback you have.
Yeah, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Tracy about that?
Tracy, Trace, it's Gwen. I was wondering, at what point will you and or TGW identify the first set of measures that you're going to use to determine either use of the defined success? Let's say for the first 4 to 6 months.
Yep, so they did identify some metrics in the original marketing plan, and I think they're going to connect that to this new timeline that they're putting together, or this new summary that they're putting together. I think they're going to incorporate that into this document, or at least make it cross over with those metrics that had been identified. So I expect that that'll be worked out in the next week or so.
And who monitors that? Does your staff monitor that, or are they going to send you a report?
So to start, I think it'll be a little bit of both. So I think they'll do some of the monitoring at the front end on some of the launch statistics, and a long-term capacity in terms of monitoring use of the site, how people are navigating it. That'll be internal to our staff. That'll be Devin tracking that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You want to move right in the CETA staff update, Tracy?
Sure. Just a couple other things to put on your radar is welcome to Katie. It's her first meeting. She was just approved a couple of weeks ago by City Council for, I know that she's out and about right now, but I'd like to welcome her on board, and just for her sake, if it's okay, I'd like to have everybody go around and just introduce yourself so we know that she knows who everybody is. So maybe just your name, your association, how you ended up here would be good. So maybe we'll start with Jeff.
Sure. Yeah. So Jeff Gasper, I kind of on the board because of the school board affiliation, but I also run my own business that's headquartered here in Auburn, and live in Auburn for the last 14. No. Oh gosh, no, I'm up to almost 16 years. So it's nice to meet you and be introduced. Welcome to the team.
Roger.
Hi, I'm Roger Beer, and a lifetime resident of Auburn. I'm on the board as an at-large member, half retired, half part-time, working as a CPA, and looking forward to working with you on the board. Katie?
Terry?
I'm Terry Cuddy. I'm on Auburn City Council, one of the 2 council members that serve on the ADA board, and welcome aboard, Katie.
Jimmy?
Katie, Jimmy Genatino, Auburn City Council. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a member of ADA. We're excited to have you and everything that you have to offer.
Brandon?
Brandon Gravis. I'm a member of industry. I work out at AAI, used to be Auburn Armature, and I've been here for about 3 years. So welcome aboard.
Gwen?
Hi, Katie. Gwen Weber-McLeod, President and CEO of Gwen Inc. I was just thinking that this may be my year anniversary, maybe, because my first meeting, Elaine was doing the audit report. So I'm here as an entrepreneur, and I'm bringing my marketing and project management and facilitation expertise to the board.
Oh, I think you're right, because I think you also caught the early March Tessie chaos last
did.
year. Yes.
I have that skill too. I'm great at sitting in chaos. So.
You and Jimmy, you came in just
I
right
have
off the
that.
bat. Bill?
Hi, Katie. My name is Bill Andre, and I'm the member of Labor.
And so those are the other board members here today. Rick, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Rick Cook, Hancock Estabrook. We are counsel to ADA. So along with my partner, Rob Boyer, we prepare all these nice resolutions that you see and do up lease back documents and pilot agreements and try to answer all of Tracy's questions. Sometimes we get them right.
Most of the time, I would say. And then Taylor is on staff. Taylor, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Taylor. I work with Tracy, so I'm their economic development technical specialist.
So she does a lot of the actual legwork on this stuff.
So all your packets and documents come from me. So look for my emails. She's not going to send them to you.
I have no responsibility here whatsoever. And Katie, I think that you might have, are you on a phone as well? If you want to introduce yourself, it just looks like you're still muted too. Let's see if I can. No, we still don't have you. Oh, there you go. You're reconnecting to audio.
There you go.
Let's see.
She's our mystery board member, I believe,
Yeah.
right? We have one slot for that.
Let me see if I can reconnect her to the... Oh, I'm not a host. I can't do anything. I was going to try to help Katie, but...
Come on again.
Yeah.
Here, I'll make you host.
Looks like you're not connected to audio for some reason, Katie. So, oh, there we go.
Okay.
Oh, there
Can
you
you hear
go.
me now?
I got you now. Okay.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, apologies. I needed to take care of something with my kids today. So, really great to meet all of you. I know some of you, but it's great to meet the others. I'm Katie McIntyre. I have been living in Auburn for about 15 or 16 years, like others. And my family and I just really cherish this city. It's a chosen home for us. I grew up in New England, and really have just felt like Auburn was the place where I grew roots for the first time. And I work professionally for National Grid. I take care of marketing and communications for our residential customers. But I do that work right from my office in my home in Auburn. So, like many of us during the pandemic. So it's great to meet you all. I look forward to working together.
Thanks, Katie. And I appreciate you embodying the brand that we're building with Take Root in Auburn and talking about roots. So where possibility takes root. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Fit right in.
It wasn't even planned, but that's great.
Yes, you got it though. Just keep going that direction.
All right. Thanks, Tracy.
So thanks everybody. Just a couple other quick updates. We did have a information session earlier this week with Dan Kalinsky from the Central New York ESD office, and he talked to about 20-ish, somewhere around 20 businesses about the new guidances for large gatherings. It's pretty confusing. It changes regularly, so it was good for folks to be able to have a Q&A with him and work through some of that guidance. We have notes from that meeting. If anyone wants to see the notes, we did not record it. The state is expecting that this guidance will change regularly, so they weren't necessarily comfortable having a video just kind of floating around. So, but I'm gathering we'll probably have to do an update and do another one in a few weeks here. The levels for event participation is changing incrementally through April 2nd. So, sometime in April, we'll probably do an update with him. But that was a good session, good opportunity for businesses and venues to check in on that guidance and make sure they understand it now that events are opening back up. That also means that the chamber is planning events for the rest of the year, which is great. Starting kind of summertime, we're hoping to be able to be in person for some of our events, and we're looking at what that means for us as well. The other thing, just a quick update on, is the micro enterprise program. We still have 6 participants. No one has dropped out at this point, so we are looking at opportunities to infuse a little bit more funding into even this round. And we've got a couple of things in mind that we're working on just to make sure that nobody gets shorted this time around. Everyone who completes the program will get funding. It'll just matter. The additional funding will just help to make sure everybody gets a little bit more, up to the 5,000. So we're working on that, and we're very pleased with how that is coming along. Meg is working very closely with all 6 of those participants, and there's some really great progress being made, and these are going to be some great businesses on the other end. So we're really excited about it. We're at the halfway mark now. They've been through 4 sessions. They have 4 more, and we're excited to see how the program rolls out for the second half. And those are the big things for tonight. We've still got a bunch of stuff on the agenda, so I won't do a full rundown. But if anyone has any questions, please.
Lacey, I'm just curious, and if it's not my business, it's okay for you to tell me that. How much more money do you need to raise to be able to provide some sort of funding to all of the businesses in the program?
So we can provide funding to all of them now. It's just that it'll be in smaller amounts. We have I'm hoping very much to have a line on another 5,000 to put in. So, anywhere between any additional funding on top of that just helps to increase the funding amounts. If we wanted to give everyone $5,000, we would need an additional 15 on top of the 15 we have. And like I said, I think I've got 5 lined up already. So another 10 would help to fill that gap if we wanted to do the full $5,000 for all the participants.
And are you seeking that funding from a private sector business, a foundation? Is that what you can't tell me?
I don't have approval for it yet, so I can't. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Acting like B613 from Scandal right now, Tracy. Okay, that's fine. I was just curious about it.
But yes, some additional. The thing is, the turnaround. We'll be finishing the program in 4 weeks, so we need to find it from sources that can turn it around. We are going to look at our administrative funding for CDBG as well. We might be able to pull a little bit more out of that and put that in the program. But additional foundational support might be helpful as well.
Great. I'm excited to see the outcome because I think it's marketable, which is why I was curious about the funding sources. So.
Yes, and again, I was talking before, this conference I've been in the last couple of days, this is something that's being talked about in the economic development world. Last year was the place branding is what we were talking about, and this year we're talking about micro enterprise program. Well, not necessarily micro enterprise programs by that name, but programs that infuse capital into entrepreneurs that are asset limited, and because they can be very viable businesses, and so much of job creation in the last number of years has been in small local businesses. The vast majority of job creation is happening at that level. So to encourage more of that activity not only helps to ensure additional job creation, but it helps with building generational wealth and assets, and it gets reinfused into neighborhoods that can use investment. So it's this type of a program where you start with a small infusion in a grant-like format, or patient equity sometimes is what we talk about. If you're going to do loans to these types of businesses, making sure it's very flexible and long-term, but looking at grants and patient equity or patient financing for that initial push, and then that can build into additional financing opportunities for these businesses. It helps them grow and build reputation, and gives them someone can vouch for them at the bank. You know, the bank can call someone and say, hey, how did that loan go? So it's a model that's starting to be used more and more. So I'm glad that we're ahead of it this time.
Thank you, Tracy.
And before we move on, I think, Roger, did you have a report of the treasurer?
I'll do a quick one to follow up to the audit. After the page in the today's information, there's a customer ad proof. And right after that's our profit and loss budget performance. And I would only point out that we in February had a administrative fee income of $180,000. That would be from
Nucor.
So budget was 50. We've already taken in 180. So that's pretty solid. Quick reminder from last month's meeting, we are projecting that we're going to have about $380,000 in admin fees coming in this year. So it looks like a real solid year. And that's what I would reiterate on the next page down on our balance sheet that our cash position is very solid. In fact, I would say, just as an anecdotal observation, I don't know whether we want to put some of the cash into savings. We've got 196,000 in checking, and perhaps we can allocate some of that so we can get the robust 0.3% interest that might be available, or 0.25. So I just offer that as a observation. You can see in the balance sheet, about the 7th item down, that the website has been added to the balance sheet. A portion of the amount that we spent on the website, an amount related specifically to it of $16,500, is now part of our fixed assets, and I just point that out. That's a difference from last month, so that's new. And I guess my last point is a follow-on to a comment made during the audit presentation, which relates to a loan payable to the city plus accrued interest. Elaine had mentioned that. I was just going to point out that her comment was that we do not owe that until the property is sold. And I just wanted to validate that that is the arrangement we have related to this note.
Yeah, the principal balance is not due until we sell the property.
Okay.
Theoretically, should be paying interest, which is why we're accruing it.
Yes.
So.
Because we're in a position.
We've not been billed by the city for the interest, so it's been accruing on the balance sheet. So Jimmy, if you want like another $9,000.
One of the financial habits we will continue to work with is that if someone doesn't bill us, we probably won't voluntarily pay. So I just point that out as an economic strategy. Nevertheless, if there was a situation where it was appropriate to do so, we are in a cash position now where we could probably take care of some of that if that was desirable. So those are the highlights of this year so far. Again, to reiterate what's been said before, it shapes up to be a solid year financially, and therefore we're in a position to be creative with whatever investments we can make with other partners or whatever in terms of our economic development going forward. That's it for my report.
I will say, when the last time land was sold to Max Studios, a portion of the loan was paid off and a portion of the interest was paid off. So this is how this has kind of run the entire time.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Roger, for your report. I always appreciate it. You do a great job. You can tell you're a professional at what you do. Sorry, I'm sleep deprived. I'm sorry I skipped by that. So we will now move back down to new business. Do we have a report of the audit committee?
I think it was mostly the audit.
Oh,
They
right.
also did look at the Paris reporting documents that are in the packet.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so, Tracy. Just wanted to make sure. So can we move to 2020 Paris reporting review?
Yeah. So I don't know if Roger or Brandon, did you have anything to add?
Well, I would say that the information related to the Paris reporting is available for your reading pleasure at the end of the audit report that's in your minutes. So the first 18 pages, once you've zipped through that, then you get into a very nice summary of the accomplishments by our staff, done in a very nice way. And then you can pour over the details of the Paris reporting. One of the things that they mentioned in the audit committee presentation is that while the information related to the bond for Bluefield is no longer required for the financial statements, it is required. The Paris reporting is New York State reporting requirements, very detailed, talks about all our projects, employment status, etc. And so the information related to that bond will also be part of our reporting going forward. But if you have any detailed questions about it, I'm certain that Tracy has memorized every last line on that document, and I defer to her response for any detail you may have.
And I will say in the Paris reporting documents, there are still a few projects that need to be added in. We're still collecting some data from projects. We're pretty close to done now, but there will be some additional information for those projects added before we submit at the end of the month. So all we need to do is, if there aren't any questions, we would seek an approval on these documents for submission to the state, with the understanding that the additional project information will be added.
Okay. Thank you. Do we need to take any action on that, Tracy? No?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the Paris reporting review, please? Moved by Jeff. I have a second.
Roger.
Second, Roger.
Second by Roger. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Thank you. Now we will move to fiduciary acknowledgement form. I think I butchered that.
That's okay. So at the end of your packet, this is usually something we do in January and we just forgot. But towards the end of the packet, after the Paris reporting, and there's 2 pages here. The second page is a fiduciary acknowledgement. We just ask that everybody sign that and return that once you've read it. So you can email it over, drop it off at the office, drop it in the mail, whatever is easiest. But if you could just fill out the bottom of that and sign it and get it back to us, we would appreciate it.
Tracy, could you tell me what's that form for again?
It just states that you understand the fiduciary responsibility, conflict of interest.
Okay.
So it's just
similar to what we have to do for the city, or is it the same thing as what we have to do? We get that every year from the city. Something very.
So this is just a document that you sign. It's not a financial disclosure. You get the financial disclosure from the city. This is just a document saying, like, I've seen the policies, I understand them, I understand that I have a fiduciary responsibility and that I should report any conflicts or disclose any conflicts, that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you. No actions needed, correct?
No action, just sign it.
Okay.
Read it first, then sign it. Let me know if you have questions.
Okay. We'll move on to review and adopt a mission statement. Who's got?
I'm excited about this one. So I think it was Terry and Gwen were working on this as the governance committee, and I'll steal their thunder a little bit. They would like to recommend some changes to the mission statement and performance goals. So I don't know if Terry, that's the last page for your packet. Terry or Gwen, did you want to touch on this at all?
I would just invite our colleagues to, I hope you had a chance to take a look at it. The adjustment in the mission statement was really about language and making it more succinct. So I think we deleted a couple of words. And then when we talked with Tracy about the performance goals, you probably recall that she had set them up for us before to take a look at, but we really thought it would be helpful to us for her to make it, to indicate in a more visible way the kinds of outcomes that she was looking to accomplish within the year. It'll help her in decision making and driving these outcomes, and it'll give us a better sense of what we want to be looking for as the organization's engaged in addressing the goals that are in the bulleted points of view. So, did I do us justice, Terry Cuddy?
You did, Gwen. You did.
Thank you. I aim to please.
Yes, yes.
Do you have anything else to add, Terry?
No, I think you did. I think you did. You took the words out of my mouth. I think that the mission statement led to these performance goals, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback, and hopefully adopting these. But obviously, that the old. Oh yeah, Tracy just put up the old mission statement. Gwen and I thought it just sounded better if we removed some redundant information, and I think it helps the clarity of it.
We can do a little side by side. New share.
Yeah, so you can see.
One. Share. Okay. So maybe you can see both. Can you see both?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so the old one is on the right, and what's presented in the packet is on the left. But yeah, so I think it was a really great conversation to talk about, and this aligns with the priorities of the board that were established previously, kind of thinking about what are the priorities for the community development side of what we're doing, and then just setting specific metrics, and in the board evaluations, there was some question about, do we have a clear understanding of our goals and our metrics? And there was some disagreement, and there were some people who weren't really sure about the goals and how we're tracking those or how we're measuring those. So the thought is to use this document in a more intentional way to check in on those goals perhaps more often, maybe a couple times a year, or with each governance committee meeting or whatnot, just to make sure that we're communicating about these goals throughout the year as opposed to just once a year when we look at the statement.
And I also think that, the website has been a way to kind of has been a catalyst in a way to have us, even though it's out to market ADA, I think it's also can be used as a tool for us to begin to measure and compare and contrast, what we were before this big investment. And some of these goals were informed by the development of the website, and some previous conversations that the governance committee had, Gwen and myself. And I think this kind of the board evaluation served its purpose because we really did take into consideration, as Tracy mentioned, some of the concerns we had as a board. So, and I think the metrics are general enough so that it's not like really hard, but at least it's very manageable. These are some things that we could really strive towards and continue to grow to continue to grow as an engine for our local economy.
Thank you for pointing that part out, Terry, because I do strategic planning work, and the way that Tracy has framed these goals is the way that I am certainly encouraging my clients to do that as well. So I would say for us as a board to know that, Tracy had to really think about some of these things. So it's pointing Ada in a direction and understanding we all just need to, of course, be highly aware that we're in a very volatile business environment. So, but it's better to point yourself in a direction and then have the agility along the way to adjust. And for us as a board, at least at a high level, at a strategic level, to understand where she's trying to go and what that will look like when she's actually acting on it. And we were aware when she developed these numbers that they were hypothetical, but that to set that for ourselves, it just makes it visual for us what success could look like in each of those goal areas. So it's a bit of a shift in philosophy about plans and goal documents, but I think that the way this is set up, it gives it gives us a way to know what we should be looking for, but also enables her to be agile as she's working to complete these goals. So, did you all have any general reaction to any of the parts of that document?
I'll say that I like the fact that you decided to narrow down the mission statement. Mm-hmm. Reading the two side by side. I've been asked to participate in this new group called Bound West, and it's about helping to revitalize the west side of Auburn. And one of the things that in the first couple of meetings that we were working on was a mission statement. And all of a sudden, people are emailing mission statements that are a paragraph long. And really, one sentence should be able to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that in this case, it does.
Yeah, I was just going to add that I think that's very helpful. I'd like, and seeing side by side, the mission statement getting just crisper and a little more clarity. It's something where if you had to explain to somebody what ADA does and what they do, we could all kind of read that, understand it, and kind of regurgitate it. And then I think as far as the metrics, they are what they are. They're kind of metrics. So in a year from now, we can gauge whether those were too lofty or too broad or what have you. But at least we've got some framework around it. So I like it. I appreciate you guys. I know that takes a lot of time and effort. So I appreciate you guys doing that.
And I think that the list of performance goals as well, having very specific metrics. Maybe we don't meet them, but having those metrics as goals, and talking about job creation, making it a priority to have good paying jobs in the city of Auburn, not just jobs, but good paying jobs, and trying to move that needle. I think that's helpful as well.
The other thing we may discover is that the bolder bulleted items, in my experience, when I'm looking at them, are probably the types of things that ADA should always be involved in or interested in. And what may change over time is the hollowed out bulleted stuff underneath. Like, I can't imagine there would never be a time when ADA wouldn't want to market the benefits of doing business. So I call those strategic priorities, sort of those things an organization must do no matter what year it is. But what changes underneath it is how you go about doing the strategies attached to the goals. So I think that's the other thing that I would just encourage you to observe, Tracy, in doing it, and for us to think about it through that lens. And then as the environment changes, there creates an opportunity. If we wanted to add another priority, for example, that would be a great thing to do. But I think this is a really good framework document to guide Tracy's work and to guide our decision-making in relationship to it.
So I'll add that, with a public authority, you always have to be careful that any mission statement you put out is consistent with the enabling statute. But I checked the enabling statute while we were talking here, and it works. And it's actually a little more succinct than what we had. So from a legal standpoint, it's good.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't even think to ask about the legal
That's what
side.
offended me.
We lucked out, Gwen. We lucked out.
Thank God I'm married to a CEO. He could have broken me out. Anybody trying to go to jail over the mission statement.
I'm glad you're here, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Gwen and Barry. Well done. Thank you. Appreciate it. A lot of work. Okay.
So if it's okay, unless there's any other questions, it would be good to adopt this as well, so we have a current mission statement.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adopt, please?
So moved.
Moved by Gwen, second by Terry. Any further conversation? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Thanks again. So now we do not, does anyone have anything they'd like to add? A board member report?
I would just like to let you all know that I've been invited to join the Center State CEO Board of Directors. And when Rob Simpson called me, I did let him know that I'm sitting on both the ADA and CETA board to test if that was any conflict of interest for them. He didn't experience it that way. But Tracy, if you have any concerns about this or the chairs have anything concerns about it, let me know. I'm not all the way in yet, so I would reconsider it, right? Because this is my priority. But I think it'll be a great opportunity for me personally, but could also be a good place for me to be in terms of the work that we're doing here and watching how people are looking to think more regionally about economic development work.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
That's great.
Good opportunity. Definitely. Okay.
So can I ask a couple questions real quick?
Yeah, sure, Jim.
Tracy, do you have, excuse me, any updates on Tessie and their project?
We did get their annual reporting. It seems like they've pretty much completed the project. They've been making the hires that they need. I don't think they were one of the ones that ended up in the Paris reporting. I think we got that after the fact. So let me just pull it up here real quick. They have, looks like exceeded their goal at this point. So they're pretty well underway.
Great. And the other question I had, we spoke a little bit tonight about the micro enterprise program that, is partially being funded by CDBG money from the city. And we'd like to expand the funding if possible, and you're looking at avenues to do that. If this is a program that we plan on continuing as a partnership between CETA and the city, and ADA continues to have funding available, is this something that ADA could help fund as well?
I would ask Rick that question because they are technically grants.
Okay.
I think there was some provision in 2020 for IDAs to be able to do grants, but I don't think that's a long-term.
Yeah, I can take a look.
Okay.
Yeah, I can take a look at that, get back to you.
All right. Thank you, Rick.
Because before COVID, we were not allowed to do grants.
All right. So
it opened a little fissure for us, so maybe we can take advantage.
Yeah, I remember that coming up. I'll take a look and see what we find.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Does anyone else have anything else they want to share before we?
Yeah, real quick, Bill, if I could.
Yeah, sure.
Just one thing I've been working at the co-work space in the Phoenix building for about the last year now, and helping Buck, the new owner there for the last year, kind of help grow that. Obviously, the last year's been tough in that regard, but he is going to put some more marketing efforts and some more information out there to try to prosper the co-work space. So if anybody's looking for, even if it's just a few hours of the day here and there or something more permanent, I go a couple days a week, a couple hours to work there. There's plenty of space. There's a little conference room, meeting area, coffee, and just a good environment. So if you know people who are coming to the area for the summer and want somewhere to work a few hours, or somebody that is thinking, you know what, I've been sitting in my house a little too much and need to get out and still do work, let them know about the space. You know, we're trying to get some marketing going. So I've been trying to help Buck with that, spread the word. He is going to try to get some marketing out in April timeframe on the space. But if anybody's looking for a co-work space, you know, point them my way and I'll point them to the co-work space there in the Phoenix building on the 4th floor. They can welcome to stop in too if they want to check out the space.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything? Okay, no need for session. Tracy, you want to go through the upcoming event?
Yep, so our State of Series is coming up at the end of March. You can sign up for those on the Chamber's event page. We're doing city, schools, and county this year. The schools this year will be both Auburn School District and BOCES, but we're also adding CCC and Wells College, so we'll have the higher ed perspective in that presentation this year. And they're throughout the last 2 weeks of March, so take a look at that. And as far as the ABO trainings, everyone who needs to go through that training is signed up at this point. But if anyone's looking for a refresher, the March dates are all closed now, but they do have some April dates opened. So if anyone's looking for a refresher on that training, that is available on ABO's website, abo.ny.gov. And then Jess has some trainings coming up, but generally keep an eye on the Chamber event page. Everything's going to be there except for the ABO trainings. And then, okay. Gwen will chat offline. So I think that's it.
Okay, all set. All right, well, our next meeting is April 23rd. Same time. So can I have, if we have no further business, can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
A motion.
Moved by Terry. That was second.
I'll second.
Second by Jimmy. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank you.
night.
Take care.
Good evening, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for your hard work, Tracy and Taylor. Bye-bye. Welcome, Katie.